Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker at Critical Blast Logistics, and we're doing something a little bit different tonight. I feel like Perch because I'm hiding behind an avatar. There's no reason to have my face on the screen here today. We are live with Brett Booth, and Brett is with us by telephone. So we're going to see if the phone can pick up on the mic. Yeah, definitely old school. My first interviews used to be done on telephone, and then I'd record them, and then I would type them up. And that was, wow, that takes me back. Glad I don't have to do that now. Chat, you would be very, very helpful to me if you'll just let me know that you can actually hear Brett as we go along. Brett, how are things tonight? I mean, you've been on one project after another lately, it seems.
Yeah. Busy the last year. It's kind of funny. It's like I got really busy, and then when the COVID hit, things kind of slowed down a bit, which was fine. But then they just kind of picked right back up, and I hate to turn projects down, but
yeah,
I try to do as much as I can. But eventually, it does kind of wear on you a bit. But
see, my day job for most of my career has been in the IT industry, and I've gone back and forth between being a direct employee someplace and being a contract employee someplace. In your situation, as a comic book artist, a lot of that is what would align with being a contractor, where you're there as a freelance gig. How do you make peace with yourself financially, knowing that it could be gone? I would be up late at night because I've had it happen. I've had contracts disappear out from under me.
Well, it used to be more of a bigger worry than it is now because of COVID. I actually, wound up doing a lot of stuff on like my Patreon and doing commissions. I had like a ton of commission work, and I still do. I mean, I could go like 2 years without doing any actual paid comic book work and just take on commissions, and I'd be fine. So it's not as big a fear as it was before, but you want to stay in the public eye because that's kind of how you sell books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when we started at Wildstorm, we were actually employees.
Oh, were you? Okay.
It's kind of weird switching to go from that to then go to the self-employed, essentially. I mean, we're self-employed, and then having to kind of think about that. So you basically have to kind of plan for stuff. But then but as you said, you lose a project, and then you have to use what money you have, so you can get a new project, but you still owe that money that you put aside, and it just it does become kind of like a worry.
Yeah, and then you have
early on. I tell you a thing. I want you to establish yourself pretty well. So you can just say, "Oh yeah, you're looking for work," or I do the commissions, or and I want to do my own kind of books too. So I mean, hopefully that'll take off, but you never know.
Yeah, and you have you've gone into the crowdfunding scene here. I think for a while you were sort of debating whether or not you should go into a crowdfunded book or not. And I saw a lot of people were like, yeah, definitely get in there and do it. You'd make a killing at it. Did you kill?
Well, that was it did okay. It's Scott's project.
Yeah, the Antibodies.
I am a co-creator, but he wanted to keep the price low. This wasn't something I was kind of interested into as well. And we did get a decent amount of backers for the first thing, but I can't do a lot of press because of the phone thing. I mean, this is because my internet is I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm on satellite internet. The upload speed is glacial.
Yeah.
So I can't upload stuff for doing videos and stuff like that. And I'm going to limit me, so that's why I don't put videos either. I'm limited I think 50 gigs a month.
Oh wow. Yeah, you definitely need a better plan and a better.
Actually, you can't. That's all. That's pretty much all it's offered at this point. Because it's rural. I'm rural.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's there's no phone lines or anything like that. So it's all my options are the HughesNet. There was another one, Blue Fire, something like that. And
wow.
Then, I guess Elon Musk is doing one too, but it's not any faster, or you don't actually get any more stuff than you do with the.
Yeah,
the HughesNet stuff.
I'm fortunate. I'm on top of a mountain in a rural part of northern Arkansas, but we have Cox, so we have a very fast upload speed. So happy with that. But we're missing out on the draw streams that you could do, which is what a lot of artists do to maintain an audience. Yeah,
that's another thing you can do now too. I mean, some people actually do a YouTube thing where you can get enough. I guess you can make money off YouTube apparently too.
Well, that's what I've been told, and I've had the occasional super chat pile in, but none of it has ever made it to my bank account. I don't know what Google's doing with the money. No, I know they hold it till you get $100 minimum. So I should get a check sometime next July at the rate I'm going.
Yeah, I know some people make a pretty decent amount of money doing that, but and it's I don't know if I want. I don't know if I could do that.
Oh yeah, I know a guy, and it's not who we're thinking. It's not who you're thinking.
That, and I did a podcast 2 weeks ago, and it was 3 hours long.
Whoa.
So maybe I could.
Yeah, you could definitely hold your own on it.
Time when you're talking. So.
Yeah, I know a podcaster who told me, when we sat down and had conversation, he's like, yeah, if I make less than $2,000 a month, it's a bad month, and I'm mad about it. I'm like, really? Okay. I can't even imagine that yet. So Brett, with it, being what we talked about, sort of an iffy kind of proposition sometimes, and until you make a name for yourself. What is your drive to be an artist in comics? I mean, why'd you get into this crazy business instead of digging ditches or something that people need, right?
Yeah, it's just something that I was always drawn to the arts, and I always wanted to be some sort of artist, but I didn't know what I wanted to be. I just knew that I wanted to do drawing, some sort of art. I'd like to do that. And a friend of mine in study hall was a comic book fan, and I was busy in study hall. I'm not busy in study hall. That's what the problem was. I didn't have any. I had 2 study halls for some reason. One second period and one 5th period. So I had I do all my work that I needed to in the first one, and then I basically had an hour and a half to doing nothing. And if I had an art project for class, I'd deal with that. But I guess I didn't have anything, and I asked my friend if he had anything cool for me to draw, and he handed me the classic X-Men #1 cover by Art Adams. And I was like, I was immediately drawn to that. And so, I started drawing Wolverine. And I just kind of got really interested in it. I really enjoyed doing that. And I decided, after a week, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, the bug bites hard and fast.
End of the first month, I was drawing actually a 16-page comic. X Factor stories. I'm a huge X Factor fan. This was one of my favorite first books. And that was my driving goal from that point on.
Yeah, and you're one of that rare breed of creators that's writer and artist at the same time. So you can give yourself your own art direction.
Yeah, that kind of came about because when I was working on Backlash, having issues with I kind of had problems with the dialogue was kind of weird, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna. The editor would make some changes here, and sometimes we had Sean was the main writer, and then we had Jeff Marriott come on, and he'd add some stuff, or they changed and tweaked some things that they kind of messed up what we had planned for the future a couple times. So I wanted to make sure I could kind of focus on that. So I started co-writing it with Sean. And so and I was already co-plotting it, so it wasn't that big a deal. I started learning how to do the dialogue.
Yeah.
So like that's 12 on to I think 27. I did the co-plotted and the dialogue, co-dialogue, and so on. We'd actually, we'd get together at his apartment or my place, and we'd go over the plot, and then we'd go back to the studio and we'd draw the pages. So that's how we did the plots back then. I would do the plot, and then I would lay it out on the board and scan it, photocopy the board, so he had like some sort of idea what was going on. And then but not that was just for editorial. So once the pages were drawn, we'd get together again over 1 or 2 days and do script.
So you recognized though early on that there was writing that needed to be done a little bit better on the book, and stepped in and did that. One of the two I had two major critiques of Image when I was there, not at Image but buying the books as a fan in what was it, my 20s? I don't know. It was not the 90s. I was out of high school, so yeah. And one was that it seemed like the company had been founded by the artists, and you could tell the books that didn't have writers on them that were professional writers because they were poster books with some dialogue that didn't hold up. Yeah. And those books didn't last long. That was the other critique, was that there were no real writers on it. And the ones that did have writers, Todd McFarlane's Spawn, obviously, Backlash, Savage Dragon at the time, they held on because there was something to bring the consumer back for more. There was, a story hook. There wasn't just, I'm going to go look and see the pretty pictures again.
I'm actually surprised at how like Backlash was still holding on with the fan. There's still a big fan base for that. I'm so surprised at all that. That's some of the first stuff I've ever written and drawn. I went from Walkhead Zero was my first book, and then Stormwatch 4, 5, and 0, and then The Kindred, which had Backlash and Grifter. That's kind of from that Backlash. So within like a year or so, Backlash was already in the series, and we tried to get the book out as regularly as possible, and it wasn't always possible. And that's one of the biggest problems the Image had. Besides, the stories were just kind of a bunch of pinups.
Yeah, well,
like you said, everything was so late, and I think that drove away a lot of fans because they got tired of waiting.
It's interesting that you say that, because Image was a fledgling company. They were still finding their way in how to be a publisher. And now we're seeing the same complaint being brought up with the crowdfunding thing. Is like, hey, you guys are late. I don't like this anymore because, you're not professionally publishing a comic. I'm like, they're new. They're just starting up. It's just like Image was.
Yeah, no, I did notice a lot of similarities, and that to me, that's like one of the biggest problems was that it is with that too. It's like stuff isn't coming out. Some of it is, yes, I will totally. One of it's coming out. I think a decent amount's coming out.
Sure. It's a mix.
Some of it's late, and but especially now, I can kind of understand this. Like the paper shortage. Yeah. Kind of thing that's happening now. That's going to cause some issues. And it was like even like with, I'm not sure if it's going to happen with our projects, but the Antibodies, but it's possible. I mean, so they're trying to make sure that gets done as fast as possible and over to the printers, so that even if it is, I actually told them to put it in a little fudge room with the ship date. So it's like, if we get it done early, ship it early. Yeah.
Under promise and over deliver that way.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like one of Image's biggest things. And I guess, as I said, with the crowdfunding, but it's kind of funny, like the really, really, the people who are like really into the crowdfunding, they're like, oh, we're willing to wait. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. It's cool. It just seems like some people are just like giving it a little too much leeway. It's like, yeah, you need to, if they're screwing around, I think it shouldn't take them a year to get a book done. Yeah. If it's 48 pages, that shouldn't do that.
I can agree with that. Yeah, there's extremes on both sides of that thing.
Yeah, so I think that's too long, because it's like basically they essentially, what they were telling me when they wanted me to crowdfund was, all you need is the cover and 5 pages to start. And I was like, that's not enough. But even like a year, so you do the 48-page book, you have the cover and 5 pages drawn, so you're drawing 42 pages. This is like 2 comic books.
Yeah. Well,
and it's taking you over a year to do that. That's
see, the advice they gave you, the advice they gave you about having a cover and 5 pages, that's the advice that somebody who's solely a writer who wants to create something has to go with, because they have to pay another artist up front for those pages. And then they're saying, okay, now let's see if I can recoup this money and get the rest of it. When you're capable of drawing it yourself, you can do more.
Kind of. But, I mean, I'm still, I still need to get paid. So it's like if I'm drawing the book and I'm writing it and I'm putting out this crowdfunding thing, ideally I'll be able to get paid too.
Yeah, but you give yourself a little more credit.
But yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean,
obviously, more done is better. More done up front is better.
So it might take a while. So like basically, my idea was basically just kind of work on stuff over however long it takes when I have free time, and then I can have a project that's like ready to go. So,
yeah, that's definitely the best way to do it if you can pull that off.
Yeah.
I've seen the argument that says, hey, if you've got the whole thing done, and then why bother crowdfunding, and why not just drop it off on Amazon?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you might not get paid.
Yeah.
You will get paid if it does well on Amazon, but it's going to be a bunch and a bunch of other projects. So it's not going to get noticed unless you make a big stink about it on social media.
You've really got to promote it then.
And as the money comes in, it's going to be coming in not like all at once. It's going to be coming in like trickles.
Yep. That once a month Amazon payment.
So you're not going to get it all at once. So you might get like 1,000 here, you might get 200 here. So getting the book, no one's getting paid, or unless you paid them, or you're not recouping your losses if you have paid them. So it's like someone asked me like how much would it cost to do basically the crowdfund to do like a 20-page book, to pay me for like writing and drawing, inkers, colorists, letterers, and all that stuff. It was about like $16,000 for 20 pages to pay everybody like a decent rate. That's like for 20 pages. So you spend all this money. Your time is money as well.
Sure.
And you put it on Amazon, and you get paid like $3,000. Well, you're in the hole like $13,000. So.
Yeah, it's
you got to hope that they can get it as a trade, and it does well as a trade.
Speaking of when things come out, we have a question in the chat from Robert Frank. He is asking, I think he means, do you have an estimated release date for Serpent Prince? He says Serpent Price, so if it's Serpent Price, then I apologize. I don't.
I know. Let's put the preview out at the beginning of the year, because they're finishing up. Everybody's supposed to be turning in stuff this month. And then after we have the preview out, so people can see. I don't know we're going to be doing this first project, which should be out sometime the beginning of. I'm assuming it probably won't be out until like April, March or April. Is when we'll basically, once everything gets. Not sure what they're doing with. They're doing stuff for retailers. I'm not sure if they're going to do like their diamond with it or not. I'm not quite sure yet.
Okay.
I should find out. But I've been so busy this last couple of weeks. I haven't had a chance to talk to Tyler a bit.
Sure.
Just trying to get the project, everything done, and get on we're just getting the colors done for the previews and the logos. So it's dealing with that. Gunslinger coming out, and I got to do the Antibodies, and then I'm moving too. So it's like trying to get the new property and get the power and septic and all that other stuff done.
And internet. Make sure you get internet there.
Well, I don't know if they have it.
Oh, no.
I know they have power there. I know they have. Well, I have to get accept. I know they have power. There is a telephone company with internet in the area. I don't know if they actually have it at those lines. So.
Oh boy.
So hopefully, I can hope. But,
yeah. Ben Thompson in the chat is asking, what is easier for him, drawing or writing?
The drawing.
Just
definitely
more fluid for you, huh?
Well, it's just usually. I mean, occasionally there's a couple days where I have just like horrible time drawing. Because I do so much. That's like my main job is drawing. So it's just I can just put that layout down and just kind of go on automatic. So it doesn't. It's not like I'm working right now. So it's it's just and I started doing that when I started actually talking with Todd earlier this year because he likes to talk on the phone a lot. And then it's like, I got I'm talking on the phone for like an hour or two, and I usually just do doodles, and I'm on the phone for any length of time, just like random shapes and stuff. And the one day he called, and I was working on a page, and I didn't want to stop working on the page, and I just kept working. And so now my thing is, I'm on the phone, I make sure I have a board in front of me with something on it, so I can do some work at the same time.
Yeah, I'm one of these.
It's so much automatic, but like with the writing, you have to kind of come up with the basic idea, and sometimes it doesn't work, or it doesn't quite fit, and sometimes you'll have to sometimes I'll do layouts when I'm writing stuff too, and then I'll have this whole 10-page this thing done. Okay, cool, and then then I have to get from point A to point B, and then I'm stuck in the middle for a week. And then I was like, okay, well, what do I do? I was like, well, how can I get to where I want to go if I just kind of ignore what I already have? And sometimes they'll come up with a better idea that way. And that's actually kind of what happened with the Serpent Prince. I was like, the whole thing was supposed to go, I was originally wanted it for my Patreon. And I started drawing it out. And just, one of the best things to do, and kind of one of the worst things to do as well, is to someone's like, well, what do you do to get that? You just start. You just go. And when we were to work at Image, and that's one of the reasons why some of the stuff was kind of pin-uppy and stuff like that, is they just kind of went, and they didn't have a story. And so basically, we did the Serpent Prince. I started going, and then I didn't realize I didn't have any sort of story that I really liked, and or went anywhere with any main goal. And Huxley, would you stop it? One of my dogs hurt his neck, and he's just constantly whining.
Oh no!
Yeah, he's on medication. I hope it'll kick in soon. And he's a big whiner too, so any sort of wound or any sort of pulled a muscle or something like that, he just wanders around and cries for hours.
Well, he's not coming through the speaker that badly.
So, but yeah, I didn't have an idea, like a main goal, and I was trying to think of something, and I think, that doesn't quite work. And then so I said, well, let me figure out what stuff I was going to do afterwards, the stuff I'd already drawn. Let me just throw that out, try something else. And that's where I kind of got the story finally. The basic idea kind of clicked finally. So I actually Perch helps a little bit with that too. When he's talking about one of the things he talks to the mangakas, they always have an end goal in mind, like an end for the property. And I was like, well, what's my end goal? And I was like, it's kind of simple. The end goal, and I was like, oh, okay. And that just everything started clicking into place after that. And so basically now it's I know how I want it to end. Now I can kind of play around with the middle one. Yeah, you know where you're going. So but I mean, in that space of time, I could have drawn 30 pages.
Yeah, I have the same.
Sometimes because it's really frustrating.
Yeah, that middle is always the bear. I mean, I write the Destroyer novels with Remo Williams, and I always know how they start, and I always know how it's going to end. But
the old Remo Williams, the old movie, right?
It was a 1985 movie, but it's been a series of.
My dad freaking loved that movie.
Oh yeah, I did too.
He loves that one.
They're supposed to be making a new one.
It, but my dad it took my dad really liked that. That was one of his favorite movies. He always, Remo Williams. Okay, cool.
Yeah, based on a series of books that's 153 strong now since 1971. So, but But yeah, it's like I said, middle's a bear. It's like, okay, what's all the boring stuff you got to do in between the action scenes? It's got to mean something.
Yeah, you got to get them and make it count. So it's like making that's the most difficult part, I think.
So when you were at Image, and you had done stuff, I haven't asked what your very first comic was, other than that one you did in high school.
Wildcat Zero.
Wildcat. So you did just walk right into Image. You didn't like break off from any of the other publishers and form it in the Act of Rebellion.
I was trying to get in at Marvel. I apparently was up for X-Men Adventures, and that wasn't. I guess I didn't get that, and so a friend of mine got me a tryout, which I guess it was a Power Man tryout. And the same day I got that damn tryout, Jim called. So I just turned in the week before. There was an ad, a talent search ad in Wildcats 2. So I sent in a bunch of artwork, and like a week later, he called me. And my sister called. I wasn't home. I was out. Just transferred the phone. So I get home. She's like, "Oh, Stan Lee called." I was like, "Stan Lee?" And then Jim called like an hour later. So, yeah. So I pretty much walked on to Image. So did Jeff. I was there right before Jeff saw Campbell. And Alex Gardner came in shortly after I got there, and then Sal Regla. There was a bunch of us, like the talent search guys. There was like 4 or 5 of us initially.
Yeah.
Besides what they already had at the studio, like Scott Clark, Will, Mark.
You were
that was already there.
You were the new blood that nobody had seen before. And that was another draw to Image, was that, they came to see all these artists that they had grown to love, and like, hey, there's these new guys that we haven't seen at the big 2, and they're doing this great work. And Ben Thompson saying Stan Lee, I don't think he understood that it was not Stan Lee that had called you from Image.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because I was like, Stan Lee isn't even working at Marvel now.
Yeah, that would be Jim Lee, Ben. So when you created Backlash, and I talked about this before we went on, that other critique I had of the Image books was that the teams all looked the same. I couldn't tell you which one was what team, which one was the other team. Cybercats, Wild Force, Wetworks. It was all,
Well, they're all based on the X-Men.
Yeah,
that's why they all kind of. That's why they all kind of. You said they kind of remind you of. They couldn't tell them apart because they're all essentially the same thing.
Exactly. And my question on that was, when you go into character design like that, how do you, because there's so many superheroes now, and you can't look at a new one without saying, oh, this one looks like so and so wearing such and such costume. So what do you do with character design?
And I'll get that. I'll even get that with like draw something and like, oh, this looks like this anime, and you're like, what's that?
Yeah. So,
it's from 1955. You're like, oh, geez.
Well, you didn't watch Astro Boy? Come on, it's a.
I did. I did see Astro Boy, and I watched Superman and Ultraman.
I've got Johnny Sacco here on DVD. I still watching all of those episodes. So when you go ahead.
When the designs is interesting, it's kind of, you essentially all are just kind of building off of what others have done in the past. I mean, that's kind of how all this art kind of works anyway. And it really depends on what I'm working on. If I'm working on like a character for like DC or Marvel, and it's we'll go with Wally West because designs with Wally. And you find out what they want, and you kind of have to work within their parameters. So, but what I found is even when they want like drastic changes, you have to put something of the original design, at least one of like a callback to the design work, the designs of the old characters, and the fans generally are more accepting of that. It's when like the editorial wants you to go even further. Or the writers. I had that problem, and I think that was like a big problem with Teen Titans book, is the fan base for that they really want what they really want is the Wolf and Fur stuff.
Yeah.
They basically want that. That's what they want. And so you have to try to give them something similar, but like the writers don't like to go to that. So the writers always like to try to do something. Oh, something new or something different. Like, yeah, but that's not what the fans want.
Yeah.
And it does become a bit of an issue. But then you have on top of that editorial, like, oh no, you need to go even further on this.
Yeah. See, when it comes to Teen Titans, I want the Haney era. So just
Well, I'm all the Nick Hardy stuff. So I'm like really old. I love the original. Like those are my favorites. Like Robin and Wonder Girl.
Oh yeah, there was an
Flash.
issue with them. I want to say they were in like a South America jungle, going down a river into a giant cave skull on the cover. That thing, I read that when I was like 12, and that just stuck with me my whole life. I'm like, yeah, this is a comic book that that I'm never going to forget, and I never have.
Yeah. No, it's kind of funny because I came in like right after Crisis. But I mean, when my friend who got me into comics was a huge like Teen Titans fan. So he had all the George Perez, Wolfman stuff. So I read all of it, or at least most of it. But I was never like a huge fan of that era as much. They kicked Wally out, and I was like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm not reading any more of this.
Everybody loves Wally.
I was always like a Flash fan, and then and I love the Kid Flash design. Okay, it's just a great design. So like when I was asked to draw Wally, I asked them some questions. I think, are we going to make him Kid Flash? Or are we going to make him Flash? And then I called and I did the other Wall. There's two Wallies. There was like Wally and Wallace. I'm not sure if it's
Right. Yeah.
So like when we did a Kid Flash version. They wanted a Kid Flash version of that. And we didn't actually go with Kid Flash. We went straight to the Flash with the future story. But so I made sure I kept the hair out, and I gave him kind of two-tone kind of costume to try to kind of call him back to the. But I also, because he was not the same Wally, I wanted the colors to be uniquely his own, and with the silver, like the darker silver, and like a red, and I thought it looked really nice and striking. And then like Rebirth comes and they basically dumped all of it. And I was like, oh god, they just gave him the regular Kid Flash costume, which is it's good. I love the costume, but I was like, he already has like an identity that's established. We just kind of erased all of that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we need a Kid Flash, and he needs something like this. Okay, so then they asked me to do the Wally design. I gave him a couple of like base designs. One where he was two where he was like the Flash, and then one where he was like more Kid Flash kind of design. They're like, well, we like the Kid Flash idea with his hair being out, so we want to go with that. Let's get the Flash. And okay, but you realize that he's a redhead, right? You want to give him a red costume, and they didn't seem to understand that might be an issue. So I tried to make the they wanted to go with like dark gray pants. Would you guys stop it in there? Gold accents and then the red. And I was talking to a friend of mine. And he's like, that's like the speedster from Marvel. I forget what his name is. Wizard.
Yeah,
like that.
There was the Wizard.
There was one guy
Quicksilver.
Like that, so I told them that, and they like didn't say anything. And then like I guess a week later, that's me. Stop it. Like a week later, they're like, hey, we're going with two reds and gold. And I was like, his costume wasn't going to work with that. Like, I called, I got Jim on the line, and I was like, we can't go with the gold. We have to change it to silver because there's too much red, and yellow's too close to it. We need something a little bit lighter that's going to like differentiate them. Can we use silver? Can we use silver? And trying to talk fast, but he finally agreed to it. So we went with the silver, and I basically had to go back in and make the silver parts on his costume thicker, so that it helped keep the reds apart.
Yeah, and it looked great.
It was too much red.
It looked great, and then they killed him again, or they just ruined him again.
Well, that was like drawing out the wall. Like, we're killing Wally again. I was like, what? And like, well, he's not going to be really dead. He's only going to be for a little bit. And I was like, okay. And then he's like dead for like 3 issues. I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. And then we're going to make him a murderer. I mean, Wally West fans have to feel today like Hal Jordan fans felt in the early '90s.
Yeah, I was not pleased. It's like, are you kidding me with this? Like, seriously. And I was like, okay, well, I was leaving. I wasn't at DC at the time, so it's not a big deal. And I'm like, hey, Brad, can you come back and do this miniseries to try to fix everything? Okay. And then we do that, and I was like, okay, that's kind of work. And then like immediately, like, oh, we're doing this other thing, this future state, and he's going to be a murderer in the Flash future. Like, oh, jeez, again.
Yeah. Joe Sontag in the chat asks, why do you think the industry hates redheads?
I don't know what they have against ginger people. I honestly don't know. I mean, I can make the joke, but they have because they have no soul. And you guys know what I'm talking about. That's a Park episode.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know why they don't like the redheads. Like, it's kind of funny because they're like, out of like, the Caucasian people, and they're all redheads and other races too. But it's actually, it's like much rarer than like the blonde hair, blue eyes, or the brown hair, or the dark hair, or whatever it is. They're almost their own little. They're a minority amongst the white people. So
yeah, that's
it's kind of weird. But I think that comics has I will say comics has it's a really small percentage of the population that actually has those traits. I do think comics get they're overrepresented in comic books because the limited color at the time when the comics were created. So
yeah,
it's like we can only do we got a redhead, we got a brunette, we got someone with black hair. Well, we need someone else. We'll go grab a redhead. We'll do a redhead because the women are really overrepresented, especially in older comic books.
Because the color pops off the page too.
Yeah. Oh, and red is the one that draws your eye. It's like the first color that you see. So that's one of the reasons too. So
and it's a beauty thing.
It hilarious. I wanted to make a joke the other day. I was watching the June 1984 cut. I found it at Walmart and it was on sale. And it's like, oh, I haven't seen this in a while. I'll check it out. And I didn't know that the House Harkonnen are all redheads.
Oh, well, that's where
I
they
wanted to make a joke about them all getting replaced in the new movie, but they didn't do that in the new movie. So it's like, but yeah, I didn't notice it. So I started watching it. I was like, they're all redheads.
Yeah.
They all have that stupid haircut. They're like, they basically took like the razor and just kind of went down the top of their head. So instead of giving them like a friar cut, they kind of have like a reverse mohawk.
Oh my God, yeah, yes.
It's terrible. But I think they're all redheads. And I'm like watching the movie, like, who's that guy? It's like the Shade's brother. What the hell is that guy? Oh, it's Blue from Popeye. Oh, jeez.
they were all Weasleys.
Funny.
We talked about Teen Titans for a minute here, and in doing research, because sometimes I do that. Your name came up in the what could be called the Great Teen Titans Teat Turbulence. Back when a cover got basically critiqued by Janelle Astin.
Yeah.
And
that was a lot. That was great. I had so much fun.
And it wasn't even your cover, but it was Ken Rockaport's.
Someone sent me the link, and I went and looked at it, and I think, oh man, this is just. I had no idea who wrote it. I had no idea, and so I was just like, they didn't pay attention. That's not how comics are done. They made a bunch of accusations about, they blame the artists for that. The artists don't decide what goes on the covers. That's the editors. They tell us what we want to draw, and then we basically give them options, and then they say, okay, we'll give them 3 options. That's what I usually do. One A, B, and C, and they say, well, let's do cover C, and then they always pick the worst one because that's how editors are. Sorry, they always pick the worst one. And so you draw like cover C, and I guess what they were trying to capture was the editors for some sort of millennial Snapchatty kind of thing. Or, I think selfies are really big at the time. So they kind of wanted it to look kind of like a selfie kind of thing. It wasn't super exciting, but there's something wrong. And that was the thing I kind of took offense with. They were saying that the drawing was bad. And the drawing isn't bad. The drawing is perfectly fine. It has a foreground and middle ground background. It's all drawn well. And yeah, maybe the main girl's top is a little low, but she's, 17, 18-year-old. She's not like, this is the problem that a lot of the people kind of came after me about it. oh, she's a teenager. Like, yes, but she's not 13. She's like 17, 18. She's basically an adult. Genetically, or way humans grow up, generally women mature much faster than men. And so they're generally fully grown, physically, by 16. They don't usually get any taller. They're done. Men usually take longer to finally finish growing. And apparently, the brains of both don't finish growing until about 20 weeks.
Yeah, and
fully maturing.
And beyond that, it's
like a bunch of people were attacking, and they did a thing, and I think that's not. You're blaming the artist for stuff that he has no control over, saying that's terrible, and part of the argument was, they want, they should, go back to the original Teen Titans, and I think, you can't go back to the original Teen Titans unless Marvel and then George Perez draw it, because nobody wants to read it then, because they had multiple comic books with for the cartoons and stuff like that, and those all tanked. They all got canceled because they were only selling 7,000 to 10,000 copies. So it's the only way you're going to get the Teen Titans to work really well, like they used to, is to basically have people who used to draw them and write them with that team. Unless you can have someone who can and that's what they're doing with all those reboots and stuff. Is they're basically trying to hope that you get the Giant Size X-Men #1 kind of thing, where you have a new team, new creative team that takes new characters, and then the fans like these new characters, and it takes off. But DC is a little bit more. DC fans are a little more nostalgic. They like their older stuff. Marvel fans are a little bit more. But they're Marvel fans are more accepting of new costumes as well. It's just it was one of the things, and I just I completely agreed with the article, and I guess someone tagged her, or she found out, and she came in and started talking to me on Twitter, and I was like, sorry, but it's wrong. That's not, she was an assistant, and I found later she's an assistant editor at DC, so she should have known how this stuff was done. That the artists don't do, unless you're like Greg Capullo. And I think Greg even turns in the layouts and stuff too. And only occasionally was I told to basically just draw what I wanted to draw. And usually it was like, hey, Brett, can you help us with layouts? And then they asked me which one I liked best. And go with that one. But usually you don't just draw a cover.
Yeah,
Todd, looking at Gunslinger Todd, was like, I just draw a couple covers. So it's just completely different, but not. That's not happened at DC. And they just kind of kept going after it, and they kept just this and that. They're harassing her. I have her blocked. I blocked her, and I specifically told people to not go after them. And I specifically told them to not steer anybody towards anybody's private or personal stuff. I just commented on the original article. So, so I was that's my first experience with the complete total left side of comic books. Is kind of nuts. Yeah, and then to even it out on the right side, I got attacked by the right side too, because for the crowdfunding thing, they wanted me to crowdfund the book, and they only use the 5 pages in the cover, and I was like, I want to have more of it done. I want to leave most things going on. Ideally, have the art done and maybe the story done before I did the crowdfunding. So that I could get it out at a decent time. Basically, what I was going to do is basically use any money from the crowdfunding that the project made to pay the inker and the colorists and the letterers and all that stuff, and to get it printed. And fulfillment stuff. And then whatever's left over, I keep, and then I can use towards the next project. That was my goal.
That's how it's supposed to work, I think.
Yeah. To me, that's how it should work. But no, they didn't want that, and they got mad at me for that. I was like, "Geez, I'm sorry," but that's I'm an older guy, and I saw the image there. I was there when the image crashed. So one of the things that I think is the problem that I talked about earlier was that the books didn't come out on time. So the retailers, couldn't count on them. They stopped ordering higher on them. The books, the fans lost interest. It was kind of like a perfect storm of what not to do. And I was kind of seeing, what some of the stuff from the carpenter things was like, it's like a year late. That's way too long. For 48 pages? No. They added some more pages. Yeah, but it shouldn't take you that long. I mean, how many books does this guy draw a year regularly?
Yeah. Or they got diverted on action figures or something.
Yeah, so it's kind of I didn't want to follow that. And even like with the Antibodies thing, it's Scott's project mostly. It's the Kickstarter. So I didn't find out about the Kickstarter. They were doing the Kickstarter like a week before.
Well, I want to talk about the.
To get things.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Antibodies for a little bit here, right before we get to the top of the hour.
Okay.
We've got some questions in the chat here. Two of them kind of go together here. If I can, I have to scroll back a little bit here. So somebody asked, are you doing commissions? Yeah, that was Robert Frank asked if you're doing commissions. And along those same lines.
The commissions are closed. I was taking them on Patreon, and I didn't realize I had like 100 people wanting commissions.
Woo! Yeah, you're in demand.
On this tier. So I closed it. So I'm trying to finish those off before I take any more.
Okay, and then Niobe Comics in the chat is Brett interested in doing covers for the indies? Cough cough like Niobe, which is his book, which is going to be the characters appearing in exciting comics for Alterna. So that's a crossover from Crowdfund.
Right now, I can't take any more work. Basically, it's like maxed out. I still have to do something. Yeah, Scott did an extra story for anybody who's waiting on the script for that. And then I have the stuff with the Lost Serpent Prince and the Gunslinger. There's a regular book I'm on. So I don't have time for anything. I basically told myself I'm not going to take any more covers after I did the last one.
Yeah, and I was going to ask.
Maybe later next year I'll have time, but sorry, not right now.
I was going to ask, and I kind of crossed it off. If you were still, I don't know, I won't say viable is the right word for it, but still able to go to the established mainstream publishers now that you've gone crowdfund and now that you had your little dust up, but you're working for Image, which is actually an established mainstream publisher. So that question's kind of moot.
Oh yeah, well I haven't like in 2014.
Yeah. So it's water under the bridge.
I've been at DC and Marvel, and people keep bringing it up, and they're like, "Oh, you should apologize." I corrected someone sent me the thing, and I just said that was not how it was done, and that's not how it's done. Why should I apologize for that?
I completely agree. You shouldn't have to. So
I thought it was weird.
So the Antibodies, that was the last Kickstarter that you did, and if you want to say how angry people got with you for not crowdfunding fast enough, boy, you went ahead and did it on the one platform that they that they really don't like.
Yeah, well, Scott had some people help him out with that. So Scott and them won Kickstarter. They didn't really know much about Indiegogo. Huxley, please stop it. Huxley, stop it. I prefer Indiegogo just because the platform is easier for me to use. I have a horrible time trying to use Kickstarter to buy anything.
Yeah, me too.
I have to have my wife do it.
Yeah,
so,
I like them to take my money when I give it to them.
Yeah, I just Indiegogo. I just click on there and what do you want to buy? I'm like, this, and then good. Here, use the credit card we have on file, and you're good.
Yep.
It's like 5 clicks and I'm done. And I'm old and I have to get older. I hate the technology stuff even more. So I think Amazon having the one click is a bad thing for me because I can just click on it and buy it. But yeah, so I like simple things. And Scott wanted to use Kickstarter, so I think I'm just I'm kind of along for the ride on this one. How could you not come over here? Go over there.
So is there no chance that now that the Kickstarter is done, that the Antibodies will have an Indiegogo run, pick up that money on the table?
I talked to Scott about it, and he's like, maybe we'll do that, and then I haven't heard anything.
Well, okay. Because I missed the Kickstarter, and Kickstarter, when Kickstarter's done, it's done. There's no in demand.
Yeah, no, I told him, I was like, yeah, you can just put it on in demand. I was like, I'll tell it to him, and I don't know what to do. I haven't talked to him in about a week. Huxley, would you stop it? Stop with the crying. It's going to lock you in the box. You're going to stay in this crate. Because you're starting to annoy the crap out of me. He'll do this for 4 hours before.
Oh, no.
It drives me up the wall. Usually always does right before it's time to go to bed. So
Poor
I'm trying
puppy.
to sleep and he'll do this for 3 hours. Yeah, he hurt his neck the other day, and then we put on medication, and he was feeling great yesterday. So he started running around, and then today he's crying.
I picked the wrong publisher that starts with an A, run by an Asian company, Asian men. I said Alterna Press. It's Antarctic Press for the Niobe comic.
Antarctic.
I want to correct that.
Yeah, okay. No, I don't have time for anything. I want to be able to do some of the creator own stuff. So like I keep taking on other people's projects. I can't work on my own stuff.
I get old, and all these indie publishers look alike to me now. So on the Antibodies though, can you give us what's the elevator pitch on this, so that when it hopefully does come to Indiegogo, we can be ready to pounce on it and have a reason why?
So basically, what it is there's a guy who has like a team that he creates to fight. I don't want to give too much away. Fight those just say nefarious people, things like that. But he basically gets people that, and he doesn't ask for their approval. Okay, I guess approval.
Permission.
That's the word I'm looking for. He basically gives them powers, and they get powers for like a year. And then he makes them into a team, and then they can go, he has them go do whatever things. It doesn't always work out that well for the people with the powers, though, and there's also the group of people that basically get the powers, and after a year, they lose their powers, but they still want their powers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you?
So this is like the initial story where you're basically, he's already done this to a certain amount of people. So he's basically one character shy of his 5-person team that he likes to have. And so he's looking for a new member. And he picks this woman who happens to work at a Denny's kind of place. And he gives her powers. And as he leaves, and I'm pretty sure he's paid these guys to come in to try to rob the store when they have badass weapons and stuff. And she basically has to confront these guys and stop them from killing everybody in the store. And then she's basically drafted on his team, thrown into a fire, into a big old battle. About halfway through the story. So
does he control what powers to give them, or is it just whatever randomly pops out of you?
Completely random.
Cool.
He just messes with their DNA to click in some sort of ability, but it's completely random what they get.
It's like the H dial.
So you have characters. Yeah, so you have characters like the main character, like we call her New Girl. She has these discs she can use. She can use it for defense, or she can use it for offense. You have a character called Brat, and she's kind of like super strong and invulnerable. So she's like the brawler. You have what do we call Pulse? These versions what they call Pulsars. I've changed that. Didn't tell me. It's all the thing. And he fires blasts from various parts of his body. And then we have like River Styx, and he has like a teleport. But his head's on. Basically, when he uses his ability, his head becomes transparent.
Ew.
The skin. So you see the skull underneath it. It happens all through his body as well. But I played around with that, and I can't give him like kind of floopy hair, so it looks like his hair is almost on fire.
Okay.
But it's not. It's just So like when you see the outline of his body, it looks like you might have like a fiery head, but it's really just hair.
Got it.
You're seeing through his skin. And the last one is War, who would be one of the people who have not a great time with the transformation, and he's kind of like this monstrous guy. And he's basically an early proto-mammal called a Gorgonopsid. So it's like his basic design.
He's the guy who can't wait for his year to be up.
Yeah, he's like, he's counting the days. He's okay, 2 more days left, and I can get the hell out of here.
So how far into this project is it complete? Because I know that you want to be as close to complete as possible before you launch.
Well, this one, the main story's done. We added I think it's 5 or 6 additional pages to the main story, which it kind of tells us a bit, gives you a little bit from the other side of this whole thing. And it was projects Scott and I were working on when COVID first hit. So it's basically a hero forged. So basically, you're going to get some of his origin and how it ties into the Antibodies. And then they're doing a 5-page River Styx backup story. So I still need to draw that one. That's what I'm working on the script from. done by the end of December, so we can get it printed. But it's all the first part's all done. 30 pages. The other parts drawn, are mostly colored. The pages that we added, the 6 pages we added.
Yeah, I almost asked,
design's done, and so it's just 5 pages.
I almost asked if there was any concern about how to get people to be invested in a character that's only going to be a superhero for a year, but it's comic books. Those years can go on for 17, 18 years.
Oh, yeah, you can do that, but part of the interesting thing is what happens afterwards as well. I mean, that's what we're going to do with some of the other characters. Who is more tied to the Hero Forge guy. So
are you guys looking at a long-term run on this, or do you have like a finite arc?
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to be able. It kind of depends on when we get when things kind of get settled. Scott has been talking to this one publisher about possibly doing it as an actual series. I don't know what's. I've talked to him about a week or two. We'll see about that, and I think the idea is to kind of see if there's enough of an audience to kind of maybe do we originally had it planned for like 3 25-page stories that we were going to put out to Diamond, and then they kind of, because my schedule and Scott's schedule, because he's working on some scripts for Netflix and stuff.
I was going to say, take it to Netflix.
Yeah. He's got the one project through there already. But he's working on a couple of scripts for some well-known actors. So that kind of took precedence.
Sure. Yep.
So I think he's going to sucking it around to see if anybody wants to do it as a series. We'll see. Fingers crossed if someone picks that up. I don't know how be involved. I mean, I have to talk to him.
Right.
I think if someone really wants this, you can have time. I think, I want to have time right now because I'm on Gunslinger. So they could probably squeeze into backup stories for it and stuff too.
Yeah, and as we go out, I was going to say, where can people? I usually say, where can people find your work next? But you are on Gunslinger Spawn, in the Spawniverse or whatever it's being called here, where it's lots of spawns. And this looks like it's maybe I'm speaking incorrectly here, but I think this is all spun out of the Spawn 300 events, where where everything got reset.
So the Gunslinger got brought from the past to the future, and it came from that one, that book, and then you have the She Spawn for the Scorched, and King Spawn's in his own. It's just the same. It's just regular Spawn. It's like Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man. It's just Spawn and King Spawn. It's the same Spawn.
Okay.
So so it's not a new Spawn. It's the same Spawn. It's just like they're using it as a form of an adjective.
Okay. Is this an event, or is this this is a whole new universe of ongoing Spawn titles?
Yes, correct.
It's the latter.
Yes. No, I'm on issue 5.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, I'm drawing it right now, actually.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you focus more on your artwork tonight. I want to say thank you very, very much for coming on. I was sort of a flippant little comment on Twitter, like, I don't know if your interviews are great. Yeah, you should come on ours and practice a little more. And thank you for being game enough to say game on.
I think you're one of the guys. You had asked me before, and I was like, I was super busy that week, and then like a week later, I was like, hey, if anybody wanted me to do any interviews, you send me an email. And I guess you weren't on for a little bit.
No, I
could have sworn you had asked me before, and I was like, I couldn't remember the name.
Oh, I probably did, but
I remember the icon, but I couldn't remember the name. And I was like, oh crap, what is the name?
Well, maybe I certainly hope this won't be the last time that you're on the show. It's been a great first time.
Totally not. I have no problem. Yeah, I don't mind doing the things. A lot of people don't like it because they can't do the internet video things. They're like, oh, we only do this video stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help it. I didn't know that this was going to be popular when I moved out here.
Well, guess what? It's been a video this whole time, and I've just been changing the pictures as we go from
Oh,
your.
well, you could just do audio, and I think, yeah, there's still a lag time. I tried to do audio once, and it was like, there was still like 2 or 3 second lag time on everything, and it
Sure.
was just like
Yep.
trying to get talk to somebody and then get asked questions at the same time. It's really difficult to do that way.
Yeah, we're just cycling through Rebirth Titans, X-Men, the Flash, Gunslinger Spawn, and the Antibodies, and I just every couple of minutes I change to another one again. So it's been video. You're right up against my mic. We're good.
Like Perks does that thing where he just kind of has his little icon, but he'll like the Flash thing.
Oh yeah,
pictures.
I love his videos.
I was like, someone was like, oh, you should videotape yourself drawing and stuff like that. And I was like, well, one, I'd have to, remember to do that, and I don't. I mean, I did a couple pages when I first started inking myself, and I was like, oh, I was really excited with the pencils, and I forgot to scan the page. For pencils, I always try to scan the pencil pages, so you go, well, one, so you could do like a pencil version if you wanted to, like a tier for crowdfunding if you were going to go that way. But 2, if I screw it up, there's a pencil I can go back to.
Yeah.
I'm working on the Lost Serpent Prince stuff right now, and I had a story that I partially inked like 8 pages of it, and I actually inked the first 15 or 16 pages of the actual one of the other stories. So I had 2 stories that I partially inked, and but I running out of time, and so I asked my inker on Gunslinger, but he's too busy on Gunslinger to do this. So a friend of mine, so regularly worked on Backlash and the Kindred with me, and so much Zero, he started trying to get back into inking comics again. So he asked me for some stuff to ink, and I kind of sent him some pages to kind of see what he did. And he did such a kick-ass job on it. I was like, oh damn, I'm just gonna have him do it. And so I'm having him ink pages, but I'm like seeing my ink pages, and I was like, man, he's like, they're so much better than me. So I get these re-inked. So that's why I keep the pencil around. If I want to have re-ink stuff, I can have Sal do it. So if someone else do a better job. But and Sal's like, oh, your inks are fine. I was like, well, I'm gonna waiting to see get some colors from the colors, just double check to see if it's gonna work. The Sal's inks are really slick, and mine are a little more like what Jim does on himself compared to what Scott would do on him.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah.
I want to make sure that it works. Like if not, then I can just have the blue line, the pencil scan. I can just send them off to Sal to the ink digitally. And,
it's interesting how an inker can change a penciler's style. The classic book is I want to say it's a Captain America annual. I think I can't recall the exact. It was a special of some kind. Jack Kirby drew the whole thing, but it was needed in such a rush that they handed a page to an inker. And so it was 16 different inkers did this thing, and you could really tell the style difference changes. All of it Jack Kirby, all of it different.
Yeah. So I wanted to see. I want to make sure it's not going to be kind of jarring. I want to make sure that the 2 ink styles work good enough side by side. And a lot of times, especially with the modern comics, if you have the same colorist, they can kind of cover that up a little bit, so it doesn't look so. It doesn't look like it's different. At least too different. So I wanted waiting on something this week to double check that you colored a couple pages from stuff that I inked, and I'm just waiting to see what the colors look like over what Sal's done. And then I can say, okay, I need to get this redone. If it's so much better with Sal, okay, I need to have Sal do that.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing those issues. So Brett, thank you so much again for coming on the show. We do appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Folks in the chat, appreciate you all being here. Seriously, we do not have a show without you, so we're glad you're here. And as always, we hope that while you were here, you had a blast. Good night.